what happened there is not a local disgrace, but a national one, and the occupation wasn't covered very well by the national press. Furthermore, what happened there could happen almost anywhere else in Canada, and has indeed happened already to varying degrees. And it's not just a problem for land developers, but a fisheries problem and a forest industry problem, and an oil and gas problem, and really, increasingly, a problem for all of us. And all of that is why I wrote the book. The book isn't about what are commonly now called root causes. It's not about land claims, except insofar as there is a disputed claim on the occupied land. It's not about residential schools, which saw 7 generations of Aboriginal youngsters removed from their homes and families. It's not about the efficacy, or lack thereof, of the Indian Affairs bureaucracy or the reserve system. I'm not equipped to write about those things. I am, as a long-time criminal courts reporter, equipped somewhat to write about what happened to the rule of law during the occupation. And I care about the rule of law too. It isn't just an idle statement of principle to me. Right in the middle of Canada, smack in the midst of the most populated part of the country, there is a no-go zone where the police, except in rare and egregious circumstances such as a fresh child abduction, won't put a toe in. As I discovered, the existence of this order is actually acknowledged in writing. And all the while, as the government and police admitted in court, the OPP essentially stood by and watched. Their marching orders were to keep the peace, period. They didn't apprehend perpetrators, though they often could have done. They didn't do a whole lot of investigating, and they certainly didn't protect the public. Separating out one part of the police officer's job as the only part that he or she will do is akin to trying to make cookies without flour and salt. And yet the OPP rank and file, often over their own objections and frequently to their shame and humiliation, because the instinct of the cop is to ride to the rescue of the vulnerable, often simply looked the other way. Fantino's extraordinary campaign to hunt down and have arrested a man named Gary McHale, who is here tonight too, culminated in the OPP boss writing a letter of support for a native man who had assaulted McHale, was probably unprecedented and was deeply disturbing. Consider how furious women would be if the justice system reverted to the days of old, when a rapist could defend himself by saying, "Well, geez, Your Honor, she was wearing these high boots and a short skirt." That's the equivalent of what Fantino did. He wrote a letter to the court in support of the man who pleaded guilty to punching McHale and said that, well, McHale had been asking for it. That the then senior law officer in this province would do this should raise enormous questions about his credentials as a serious law and order candidate and the Prime Minister's new best friend. As the OPP boss, Fantino brought all the power of the state in the pursuit of a law-abiding citizen whose only sin was to disagree with him. And what does it lead to, all of this? It leads to anarchy. On June the 30th this year, far away from Caledonia, in a tiny corner of northwestern Ontario, at a remote reserve called Pajanjacum, rock-throwing natives drove off and marched to the airport, the entire 11-member OPP detachment, and sent them home. It could happen in Manitoba. It has happened in various places in Ontario and Quebec. It will happen, I'm guessing, in other communities, wherever government is timid, townspeople are reluctant or too afraid to name the elephant in the room, and Aboriginal people are willing to push the envelope.